Welcome to another Cowboys Morning Brew. This is a special Saturday episode on Boom Broadcasting on Fans First Sports Network. And it's a Saturday morning, so I'm not getting ready for work prematurely. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pretty much stay in my PJs. But we debuted a special episode last week called The Friend of My Enemy. The Cowboys play the New York Giants tomorrow afternoon. And we had Sean on last week, and unfortunately the Eagles won, beating the Cowboys, and we've talked about that game, but now it's time to turn our attention to the New York Giants. And I do that with not just my coffee in the morning, but I also do that with the host of Three from Deep and the host of Sideline Savants, your fantasy football podcast. He is our New York Giants representative, Mr. Jason Colenso himself, Mr. NY. First of all, happy birthday. And you caught the memo. We got our morning brew.
Yes, sir. Salute. Good morning. It's weekends are usually my time to sleep in, but it's a pleasure to wake up early with you here, man. So I appreciate being on.
Well, thank you for waking up as early as you have. These early mornings are getting to me. I got a little bit of a sore throat too, so we'll try to power through this.
Honey in your coffee. That's what I do. It helps the throat. A little honey in your coffee.
I actually have a honey cough drop in my mouth right now, and I'm sipping coffee, so it's it's
Same. It's a little different, but you're on the right track. But yeah, salute.
Salu. I'm going to try to tough this podcast out, but somebody who isn't toughing Sunday out is DaRon Bland. DaRon Bland suffered a foot injury in practice this week, and he has been ruled out. Now, this isn't the same injury that he suffered last year that made him miss 9-10 weeks of the season. Instead, he is going to miss the game against the New York Giants, and we're going to talk about the New York Giants defense against the Cowboys offense a little later on. But I really wanted to touch on this, Jason, because the Dallas Cowboys, from our perspective, we shut down A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith last week and still didn't come away with the victory. But that was because Diggs and Bland were so on point. Kyer Elam had stepped up too, but we know this team doesn't have the depth at the position. Rookie Siobhan Revel is out right now, recovering from a knee injury. Same with Josh Butler, Kalen Carson on IR. And now you're basically playing one of the best young receivers in the game, Malik Neighbors, pairing him up with Wandale Robinson. Jason, how do you feel about, because there's a lot of people talking about Russell Wilson's the quarterback, but I mean, when you have a guy like Malik Neighbors and you're throwing him the ball, how confident are you in the pass game now that DaRon Bland is ruled out?
After last week's performance, 17 for 37, 168 yards against a really tough Commanders defense, I'm not sold. The run game is atrocious, and what really concerns me is that offensive line. New York Giants offensive line is suspect. They came in to this season ranked 28, and they are falling even farther than that the way they look. You also have Andrew Thomas, your left tackle. He's doubtful for the game with a foot injury too. So you have another injury, especially on an offensive line that's already suspect. So Russell Wilson, I don't know if I have a lot of confidence. I need to see more. He could not push the ball down the field. He only averaged 4.5 yards a pass, which is horrendous. That with a non-existent run game. I'm going into this game here. I'm trying to be optimistic and hoping that was just a hiccup game, coming out of the preseason, with some of the starters not really taking a lot of reps. Because look, Malik Neighbors is going to get him. He's an unbelievable talent. and that's going to be a heck of a matchup there. But I don't know. I'm a little nervous right now.
And I've told you on Out of Pocket for Boom Broadcasting that I felt like Jackson Dart should be the guy starting. Unfortunately, probably for Giants fans, that Russell Wilson will be the starter instead of Jackson Dart. And you guys can catch more of that conversation because we really had time to go in depth on that. It's available still on demand through Boom Broadcasting. But a couple of things I wanted to point out here is, Russell Wilson didn't have a strong outing, 17 of 37, which is less than 50% completion percentage, 168 yards, the fourth worst passer rating in week one. But you still have some promising guys. Malik Neighbors, 5 catches, 71 yards. Wan'Dale Robinson, 6 catches, 55 yards. We didn't really see anything from anybody else. Do you feel like some of these other receivers have a chance to help out Russell Wilson, especially now that Dallas is so weak in the secondary?
Well, right now, Wan'Dale Robinson is messing with an ankle injury too, so he's even questionable in this game right now. Darius Slayton, where are you? We couldn't sign, um, you know, uh, Saquon Barkley because we don't want to pay him too much. But you give Darius Slayton a 3-year, $36 million contract, and he had goose eggs. He did absolutely nothing. You got Jalen Hyatt in there. You got a couple other guys. Jalen Hyatt, 3rd-round pick in 2023. So we need to do something. The tight end position, not existent. Theo, where you at? So I mean, this whole offense needs to step up, but especially other wide receivers other than Malik Neighbors needs to step up, especially with Wan'Dale Robinson being hurt. I don't know how effective he's going to be, but something's got to happen with this New York Giants team because the Jackson Dart era may start game 3 if we do not do something offensively here against these Dallas Cowboys.
And one of the weaknesses in the past for the Cowboys has been their run defense. Last week for the Dallas Cowboys, they gave up a lot of yards on the ground to the Philadelphia Eagles. Obviously, when you're playing against Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley, that's going to happen. The Cowboys gave up 38 carries, 158 yards. That's 4.2 yards a carry and 3 touchdowns. Now, overall, if you look at it, they held Saquon Barkley to 60 yards. They held Jalen Hurts to 62 yards, but they did have those combined 3 touchdowns. All of the touchdowns for Philadelphia were on the ground. And Jason, there's always been that knack that the Cowboys can't stop the run and stop the bleeding, and that's how you beat this Cowboys team. They did do a little bit better when Kenny Clark was on the field as opposed to when he was off the field. Mozzie Smith was inactive last week. But you look at this Giants offense, and if you're not getting the ball going through the air, you have Tyrone Tracy, you have Devin Singletary, but you also have Cam Scatterbo, who only had 2 carries in the past game and 2 catches. Who is the biggest threat to the Cowboys in terms of the running backs?
Well, right now it's Russell Wilson because Russell Wilson's the leading running back for the New York Giants. He had 44 yards rushing last week because he was essentially running for his life. But it needs to start with Tracy first. Look, Tracy's the starting running back for a reason. He is a little more of that speedster. And then, once you get the field open, throw Scatterbo in there. He made a couple of plays, and then he had the one play where he kind of ran over a defensive back there and showed kind of his toughness. But I'm really concerned about the play calling because, yes, this is the chance against this Cowboys run defense. This is the chance for the New York Giants to have all 3 of these guys run the rock down the Cowboys' throats. They have the personnel to do it. Can that offensive line make some holes and give them the space to do it? But it starts with Tracy. If Tracy gets going and gets the Cowboys on their heels, you throw Scatterbo in there to run guys over and be that muscle, especially if you can get down into the red zone. You got a big body down there. But it needs to be the run game itself. I need to see a commitment to the run as opposed to, 15 attempts, 15 carries in the run game from your running backs is atrocious. Run the rock. You have a chance. And that will open up the passing game, because if you don't, then you double neighbors and it's going to be a long day.
Well, I don't think the Cowboys have the depth to double Malik Neighbors, especially when you're talking about some safeties playing nickel corner for Dallas. I think the Giants can take advantage of that if they want to ever put Neighbors in the slot. They also have Reddy Stewart, who might be having a lot of snaps at corner this week. And Reddy Stewart is a name that nobody really took note of until this week. So it looks bleak for Dallas's secondary. And I'm really glad you brought up Russell Wilson, because he is the leading rusher for the Giants. And you look at what Philadelphia's recipe was. Jalen Hurts had 23 pass attempts, and the running game had 38 carries. Last week against the Giants, Russell Wilson threw 37 times, and the Giants ran the ball 23 times. So there's obviously an imbalance when it came to the pass rush option for the New York Giants. And Philadelphia kind of saw that if you run the ball a little bit more on the Cowboys, you don't have to rely on passing. So as much as this is a game that a lot of Cowboys fans think that they can win, I'll say not so fast. DaRon Bland being out. If the Giants' weakness might be the pass game right now, but if they can run the ball and establish the ground game, this could be a game that's a lot closer than what people think. And a lot of people are overlooking the Giants right now because of Dak Prescott's record. But we got to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we'll talk about Dak Prescott against the New York Giants in his career, what CeeDee Lamb hopes to do, and maybe the run game being the factor for the Cowboys. Next, after this quick coffee break, and if you're listening to us on Fans First, a commercial break. Welcome back, Cowboys Morning Brew. Thank you for joining us with your cup of coffee. Michael Davis, joined by a friend of my enemy, Jason, fellow football podcaster, but not a fellow fan of the same team. He is a New York Giants guy. We're on video for Boom Broadcasting and audio for Fans First Sports Network, and we're going to try to do this each week with a Cowboys opponent. And we just got done talking about some of the struggles Dallas might have defensively, but the New York Giants have struggled against Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott, a perfect 7-0 against the New York Giants when he starts. Jason, I look at this New York Giants team, and I do want to talk more about the corners against CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens this week. But Dak Prescott, he feels comfortable against the New York Giants. But when you look at what the Giants have added on the defensive line, should Dak feel as comfortable? Do you think Dak will have his way, or do you think the Giants' defensive line is going to put a lot more pressure on Dak than he's had in the past against the Giants?
Well, Dak is feeling comfortable against the Giants because actually he's got a 13-game winning streak against them. Last time he lost was in 2016, his rookie year. So Dak is feeling pretty comfortable. The Giants' defense needs to wreak some havoc. They were very lackluster in that Commanders game. Only a couple of sacks. Actually, three sacks. It was 2 sacks from Burns and Carter and Sexy Dexy got a half a sack each. But that front four is going to be crucial for this game here. We have to make Dak uncomfortable. We have to try to shut down your run game. Look, I gave Javonte Williams props. If you watched the last episode of Sideline Savants, I gave kudos to Javonte Williams. He has been really good for the Cowboys that first game. I think he's going to get an opportunity to really be a good number one running back for you guys. But yeah, we got to put pressure on Dak. We cannot let him get comfortable passing the ball and getting it down the field to CeeDee Lamb. Because again, these first games, you got to remember these quarterbacks and these wide receivers don't have a lot of real live football, practice right now. They come through the preseason, they get a few snaps and a live game, and then they go sit them on the bench. So you talk about timing with wide receivers. That comes probably game 2, 3. So, I mean, this is an important game. So if we can really mess up the timing between Dak and those wide receivers with that front four, we have a chance to really win this game. But, your offensive line, that Cowboys offensive line is going to have a heck of a time because I need to see something, and that defense needs to play angry. They did not play angry last week. That whole team played uninspired football. They need to come out the gate and play with some inspiration because if not, starting jobs are going to be on the line, and coaches may be changed too. So there's a lot to prove in this game because a lot of eyeballs are going to be on it.
There's going to be a lot of eyeballs. Talking specifically what the Giants did to Jaden Daniels, who didn't look the greatest against the Giants, also didn't look the greatest against the Packers a couple of nights ago.
Mm-hmm.
But Abdul Carter, the rookie, shares a sack with Kayvon Thibodeau. Brian Burns gets 2 sacks. Still very upset that not only the Cowboys trade away Micah Parsons, but the Carolina Panthers traded Brian Burns to the New York Giants.
Yeah.
And one guy who didn't have a sack, but is the best defensive lineman on that unit is Dexter Lawrence. And as a Cowboys fan, I think Dexter Lawrence might be the best defensive tackle in the NFL. And the Cowboys benefited from Jalen Carter spitting on Dak, getting ejected 6 seconds into the game before an offensive snap was ever taken.
Yeah.
But Dexter Lawrence isn't going to be that stupid this weekend.
No.
Dexter Lawrence might make it more difficult for Javonte Williams to get the ball running. Obviously, I want to share Javonte Williams, 15 carries, 54 yards, 3.6 yards a carry and 2 touchdowns. The Cowboys in general had 22 carries, 119 yards, 5.4 yards a carry. And then for the Giants last week, they didn't defend the run too well. The Giants gave up 6.9 yards a carry against the Washington Commanders. So, Jason, do you think the Commanders game was more of a fluke for the Giants' run defense, or do you think maybe the Cowboys' running game last week against Philly was more of a fluke with Javonte Williams getting a couple scores on the ground?
Like I said, Javonte Williams not a fluke. He just didn't get a lot of the right opportunity in Denver, and I think he's going to have some great opportunity. That Dallas Cowboys historically know how to operate and coach up an offensive line. So I wouldn't be too worried about them. But I got to give a shout out to Bobby Okereke too, man. Dude was on fire last week. He was the star of our team. 16 tackles, 7 solo. So Okereke is actually going to be crucial in this game too. I mean, Burns, Carter, Lawrence, Thibodeau, they're going to put a lot of pressure on there. But when it all comes down to it, pressure and getting to the quarterback is one thing, but you got to tackle the guy with the football. So Okereke has been doing that. Man, I am a little bit worried. Again, we got to play some energetic football. be disruptive, mess up timing, start chipping, make sure guys don't get down the field. Don't let Williams get into the secondary, because if he does, I think he's got the ability to break some speed. And I'd be curious to see if Sanders shows up. Miles Sanders, they brought him in for a reason, to kind of hold the fort down until Blue gets ready. We'll see when they put him in there. But Miles Sanders knows how to play football, so don't sleep on him. He could break one out because, yeah, I mean, we had Krosky, Bill. We had Bill score a touchdown on us last week for the Commanders. So they definitely run. They ran very, very well because, again, quarterbacks are still getting their feet under them. It's still early in the season, but I'm still worried as a Giants fan right now. I need to see something from that defense. Be disruptive, guys, please.
Well, I'm hoping they aren't disruptive, because that is not what I'm hoping for. What I am hoping for is CeeDee Lamb being disruptive. The Dallas Cowboys played the New York Giants last year, and CeeDee Lamb was struggling with a shoulder injury. But it was really it was a big blow last Thanksgiving when the Cowboys beat the Giants. But CeeDee Lamb dropped some comments about Drew Phillips and that tackle, and he said, he tackled me and hurt me, so I've got something for him. Now, the New York Giants have several different corners. They do have Drew Phillips, and they also have Deontay Banks, who has fallen off on the depth chart, but that's because the Giants have Paulson Adebo.
Yep.
He is going to be one of the better corners. Jason, when you look at the Cowboys offense, they have Lamb, they have finally a number 2 receiver in George Pickens, and they have potentially using Kevontae Turpin. Do you see a big game out of CeeDee Lamb, or do you see George Pickens getting more targets thrown his way? Because CeeDee Lamb's not only avenging this shoulder injury, but he had 5 costly drops in last week's game.
Right. And those are the things he wants to make up for that. I think that bothers him a lot. And, wide receivers, especially star wide receivers, they have games like that. They want to make up for him. So definitely concerned about CeeDee Lamb wanting to blow it up. But the only way that's going to work is the run game. You got to get the run going to be able to push the ball down the field. A little worried about Pickens too, because he is a deep threat. He makes some really spectacular catches. But the key to that is poke the bear. I'm hoping that Adebo or can get out there and kind of poke the bear with Pickens and get him off his game. Maybe get a flag against him, because of course Mr. Pickens likes to get in his own way. So, but that front 4 needs to disrupt Dak Prescott, because again, if he is not in sync with CeeDee, those are the kind of balls that he misses. I mean, I know he had some drops, but there was a few passes there that were just not really on time. And again, I fault that to just not a lot of time. First game, not a lot of time in practice, in live practice. So we definitely need to shut down CeeDee Lamb, because if he pops one and gets that team hyped up, then it's all downhill. And then when he does that, that opens the run game up even more, because now you're worried about the deep threat. Now you're dropping guys back. You're not playing 8 in the box. So, Dallas has a chance to be dangerous here. It really depends on if that New York Giants defense shows up.
And the Giants defense will be without McFadden, their best linebacker, which doesn't do any favors. But again, some players to look out for: Debo in that secondary, Dexter Lawrence on that defensive line. But Jason, as we draw to a close, because I'll be honest, I need to go get some more coffee.
Same.
The Cowboys and the Giants this Sunday enter this game 0-1. Everybody is saying the Eagles have a great chance to repeat, or the Commanders might take the division. The Cowboys and Giants are kind of in the same boat of being almost afterthoughts in the NFC East. But starting 0-2 is bad enough, but starting 0-2 in your own division is going to put one of these squads in quite the hole.
Yep.
Who do you think, not necessarily who you want to win or who you think wins, but who do you think needs this win more to avoid going 0-2?
Well, definitely the New York Giants need this win more because there is a lot of hot seats on that side of the ball. Again, I talked about coaching, and Daboll right now is on probably one of the hottest seats in the league right now, besides the gentleman down in Miami, but that's another story. But that coaching staff is essentially coaching for their jobs right now. Same thing, with that GM, that front office there. So if the Giants do not win this game, they go down 0-2. I have a feeling there's a lot of changes coming. See, if the Cowboys go 0-2, you'll see, the jokes and Stephen A. Smith and all this other stuff, and they'll blame it on Micah and all this other, which is just, to me, is internet fodder. But the Cowboys have a chance to kind of bounce back from that. Giants go 0-2. I don't think there's a lot of bouncing back from that because they're gonna fall into the same hole they have the last 3 to 5 years here, with some of the mistakes they made. A lot of the ghosts are gonna come out to haunt them. They already had a ghost come out and show them up this weekend with old Danny Dimes becoming Indiana Jones, just really making the Giants look bad because he looked good. So it's like, okay, if he looks that good, what is that coaching staff doing? So lots of questions on the New York Giants. If they lose this game and go down 0-2 in their division, it's going to be a long, painful season for Giants fans. And I have a feeling the Jackson Dart era will start game 3. So, and then we may have a new coach game 4, game 5. So, I mean, just a lot to. Neither one of these teams want to go down 0-2, but I think the Giants need it more.
And I can understand the hot seat that Brian Dable could be in for the New York Giants. But Jason, I'll be honest, I think it is Dallas who needs this win a little bit more. You trade away your star player and you promise to win, and this is going to set you up to be a better team. And you go ahead and make that deal, but the Cowboys lose to Philadelphia, but they shocked people by making it so close. But you start Schottenheimer out 0-2. Dak Prescott loses to the Giants for the first time in his career. And it'd be tough. Like, I would avoid Twitter if the Cowboys lost this game to the Giants because it's almost unacceptable at that point.
A lot of it isn't how they lose. I mean, sometimes, you lose, you get a bad beat, you get an injury. So there's certain ways. If they lose and lose horribly and it's enough to where they're just going to get beat up the whole week, yeah, that's going to be a little bit tough. So, but I'm hoping for a good game. Both of these teams really need to show up. I think we just, as fans of these teams, we want to see hope. You want to see development. You want to see something encouraging. Hey, I saw something on the offense that started looking better. Guys started getting better. I saw something on the defense. Hey, we did this a little bit better. You want to see hope. If you go down 0-2 and you do it by looking bad, and you start losing hope, that makes for a long season, and that's really when the birds start chirping. So this is going to be a fun weekend.
It's going to be a good weekend. Cowboys, Giants, 1 p.m. Sunday, Eastern Time. Trying to avoid the 0-2, not only on the record of the season, but in the division as well. The Commanders lost this past Thursday night. The Eagles will have their test this weekend against the Kansas City Chiefs. So whoever wins this game could be tied for the NFC East lead just like that 2 weeks into the season. But Jason dropped some fantasy football knowledge. You can catch his show on Boom Broadcasting, Sideline Savants, on Wednesday afternoons for your fantasy football advice. He also does a 3 from Deep NBA podcast on Monday afternoons. But guys, thankfully, I don't have to go to work this morning. So I don't even think people have school this morning. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go make me another cup of coffee, and I'll probably knock out for a nap before I get going with my day. But thank you to Jason for joining us on Cowboys Morning Brew for Boom Broadcasting and Fans First Sports Network on Star Studded Cowboys Network. I'm Michael Davis, and we'll be back with you Monday morning to talk about the Giants-Cowboys game in the past tense. So we'll see you Monday morning.